Hello, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining. I can see many of our guests have already joined in. Welcome to the Customer 360 Insights for the banking and financial industry. We're very happy to have you joining us today. Before we begin, I will just do a few housekeeping notes for everybody to be able to engage with us and enjoy the content that we have prepared for you all today. Um, uh, in this webinar, you can see in the bottom pane, there's a Q&A box. At any point, if you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A box. So this way also it helps us to mark the question as answered when it's really answered. Also it prompts our speakers and the moderator to pay attention to the question. It's a bit better than the chat function, so please do drop your questions over there. Um, um, Other than that, today we also have some nice surprises and prizes for you. The prize will be more elaborated on by our moderator later on, but the main criteria is your engagement. So please take all the engagement opportunities that Teng, our moderator, will talk to you about, and you'll be hopefully able to win with us at the end of the session. Thank you all very much. Teng, I will hand over to you to start our webinar as all of our speakers are here today. Thank you. Sorry, Teng, I think you are on mute. Please, if you can unmute yourself.
How about now? You hear me?
Great. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. Okay, good morning, everyone, and maybe good afternoon to some, depending on your time zone. Welcome to our webinar series. As Susie mentions about Customer 360 data, how do we look at Customer 360, especially for the BFSI industry? So actually, this webinar is in three parts. Part one, which we'll be sharing more today together with our panelists, is about how do we actually unlock business value through Customer 360, especially in the BFSI space. Then we have another two more webinars coming in the following months. The second one talking about successful implementation use cases. And the last but not least is about the roadmap and blueprint for actually Customer 360 in the BFSI space, right? So I think my name is Teng. I'm the head of growth for data AI at ADA Global today. So today I will be your moderator and your host. I'm very excited to share a lot of insightful conversations with you today. And this webinar is actually hosted by ADA. So ADA is an end-to-end data AI company, which is really focusing on actually outcome-based. We have worked with clients across the globe. We have 1,400 clients around, as well as 1,500 employees. And through our partnership with clients, right, what we have seen a lot is about how do we actually drive from the data front all the way to the outcomes? So outcomes on digital marketing, outcomes on digital commerce, but also outcomes on customer engagement, right? It's really about delivering the value from the clients and working backwards to connect the dots with data as well. And also co-hosted together with ADA is actually Snowflake SL. So Snowflake is one of the most efficient data AI platform. They have provided a very unique architecture which just supports all types of data, all types of workload, which actually enables you to have a common data foundation, which actually looks at your business at a scale globally, but also looking at it only through a single source of truth, which is a single platform, right? So just give a little bit of spice in terms of the EDA and Snowflake partnership. So we have been in strategic partnership in the past 2 years, really looking at how do we transform the space for data AI together with clients, right? Bringing the best of both worlds when it comes to in terms of delivering the impact, but also having a very strong data platform to actually deliver those kind of values with clients, right? So what we have learned in terms of our partnership in the past 2 years is not really about having the best foundation or not really about getting everything perfect, but it's more important to look at your business outcomes, right? It always starts with the clients first, right? So looking at what are the business objectives that you wanted to do, and more importantly, connecting the dots from your customer 360 data to activation. Okay, then with that, right, I wanted to introduce our speaker first here. So we have Chris, Prabhat, and also Kaushik on the call here. So Chris, maybe you want to go first?
Thank you, Teng. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Park. I lead the customer data platform practice at ADA. Over the years, I have successfully delivered more than 30 CDP and customer 360 projects across Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan, Europe, and Americas. I'm excited to be here today and look forward to sharing insight from these diverse experiences with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Prabhat, you want to go next?
Hey, I'm Prabhat. I'm the Chief of Data and AI at ADA Global. So I look after the entire data and AI initiative for all the clients across the globe for ADA. Happy to share my thoughts with you today.
Thank you, Prabhat. Kaushik, you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, Terry. Sorry, Tang. Thanks for the introduction. So I'm Kaushik GD. I head the financial services for Snowflake APJ. I have joined Snowflake less than a year now. This is about towards a year last year. And prior to that, I have worked in financial services across buy side and sell side in London. And during that period, one thing is common, no matter what the sub-industry is, it has always been about knowing the customer and taking the services that the financial services provide to that customer. Now, retail businesses and many of the other businesses has been into this quite thick of it historically, and financial services is kind of getting into the motion more and more as the customer, the whole mindset is changing. And I'm happy to share both from a practitioner's point of view and now from a product point of view, how it all comes together.
Thank you, Kaushik. We have very good esteemed speakers lined up for today's conversation, right? So I think before we deep dive into the current state, right, just wanted to remind everyone there will be Grab vouchers up for grabs. So stay until the end of the webinar, make it interactive, ask your question in Q&A like what Susie mentioned. So panelists, let's get started. I think we're gonna start off with in terms of the current state of BFSI, right? We have seen a lot of tremendous transformation, investment into foundation, but also investment into customer 360 data. Maybe my first question to Kaushik, right? Customer expectation has been evolving so rapidly, and I think you're gonna go quicker and quicker. What are the biggest shift that you see organization in terms of handling customer 360 data?
Let me give you an example. So, as you're all familiar, that recently there has been a lot of discussions about tariffs, a lot of discussion about geopolitical tension. Now, imagine your bank sends you a preemptive message telling you that do not worry, this kind of blips are temporary. Your portfolio, even though you might see some sudden dip, is still safe and secure and is ready to meet the long term. And the customer might actually enjoy that. Whereas another customer who has maybe bought a car and he keeps getting more advertisement or hey, there's a more loan for a second car, third car, might not be as pleasurable experience. So the point is, the way personalization works is knowing who the customer is, knowing the context and the preference of the customer, and then reaching out to it. So across the spectrum, as demographic become more and more digitally savvy, as we start living our life, we already have, but as we start living our financial life into our phones more and more, it is important that banks and insurance, and to a degree even wealth management, very importantly enough, understands the customer and reach out to them. And everyone is doing that. In the region, especially in APJ, wealth management is very big. Wealth management, especially around creating that differentiated service. If you think about it, wealth management is taking an example. It is very hard to create a massive differentiated return for customer. So the biggest differentiation comes in if you can personalize the experience. Yeah. So we are seeing a tremendous move towards FSI going towards and adopting the best practices that retail and the other industries had done for some time now and bringing it in. So yeah, that's the trend I want to talk about.
Yeah, I think very important to note this one you mentioned about personalization, right? And maybe another question that just came to my mind, right? How does data play into all this true customer 360 and as actually the personalization play? Chris, you want to share a little bit of your experience of working in the CDP space?
Sure. Data is a foundation of the customer 360. So it is a kind of a raw material that powers every insight, every personalized interactions, every decisions. Raw data is very valuable. However, it is very aligned with Tausik's opinions that more important data is contextualized data, like preferences, life event, the sentiment, or intent signal. That is what gives you real customer intelligence. This is how you move from what they did to the why they did it. So one thing I often share with my client is that many of them come to me saying, here is my, the data I have, how I can use it for my businesses. I believe this is the wrong starting point. So the better question is, what do I need to do to grow my business, and how I can use my data to achieve that? When you frame it in this way, you are not limited by the data you already have. Instead, you are open to identifying new data sources and the insight to understand the customer's context that truly support your business goals. Yep.
Thank you, Chris. Prabha, you want to share your experience as well working with the data space for many, many, many years?
Sorry. In fact, I would like to just, instead of from the BFSI industry point of view, I would rather, give my view from the customer point of view. The major shift, if I see for myself, right, being, wealth client for many banks, etc. One of the, I mean, it can be summarized in few words. One is basically, I would expect my, financial institution or bankers to know me, right, which is very important for me, and respect and value me. This is also very important. If any bankers or interactions I felt that I'm not respected or I'm not valued, then there is a disconnect, and support me when I need you, right? And all of this is required instantly and everywhere, whether it is I'm on a website, or I am on an app, or I am at the branch, or calling the customer service. So any of these things, so it can be summarized as know me, respect me, help me, and you have to do it now and omni-channel. So I think that is the major shift in consumer, and if we are able to address this basically, you would see that all the strategies of BFSI would finally be about these 5 things.
I really like the point both Chris and Prabhat raised. I just want to add one more thing to it. I think it is very important people appreciate the role when we say data. It's no longer those rows in a table anymore. It's everything. Customer calls you and you have a conversation with the customer support. That's data, even if it is a file sitting somewhere. They send you KYC documents, and usually it's always the first time you do, and they keep it in a corner of the house. That's not it. That's also data. So every touch point and interaction that the customer has either with you directly, and sometimes even the public information available about the customer, is data, which lets us know about the customer, act on that information. So I think that's a mind shift that needs to be brought in. What is data?
Very, very thought-provoking. What is data, Kaushik? But in hyper-personalization, if you were to look at it, a lot of clients are asking about targeting at the right time, the right moment, the right place. And now I think it's to do it with speed, right? So while we're Susie's bringing the poll up, right? We're just gonna take a look at the Q&A if there's any questions for now. And in the screen, you will see a poll talking about what is your biggest obstacles in delivering a unified customer 360 view today. So please take a stab at it and answer yours. And in terms of questions, right, that's one trend that we've been seeing a lot. A lot of people have been talking about modular and also talking about composable, right? What are your thoughts around it? Maybe a question to all the panelists. A composable approach to actually harnessing my customer 360 view.
Yeah, let me talk to that, answer to that. I have delivered many customer 360 projects using both Composable CDP and the packaged CDP solutions. Each approach has its pros and cons. Business can select the best solution fit to their needs. But if I highlight, two considerations, one is that the packaged CDP offers full suite of, the built-in features right out of box. In contrast, the composable CDP are built on top of existing data platforms such as Snowflake, and allow you to integrate, only component you need. Likely, the identity resolution, activation, or consent management. So this modular approaches give you more flexibility and the control over your architecture, as well as, it is cost effective. Another important thing is that AI agents are now capable of replacing some traditional CDP's functions, including the segmentations, activation, even business intelligence tasks. So rather than manually building segment and the journeys, users can use natural languages to create them and deploy them. It is a kind of a dramatically simplifying the process. So AI features will make it easier for the task with the composable CDP. Yeah.
Nice.
Let me just
Okay.
add to that also, and thanks, Chris. You have raised a very valid point about segmentation. I just want to highlight that why do we need composable CDP? See, it's very common to think that, hey, I've got Salesforce or I've got any of the other popular apps where I keep my customer master record. Why do I need to create something else, just add a lot of overhead? I think the answer is very simple. So even we use some of the major customer master records. The customer master record is good because it gets you started in the beginning. It keeps one place where you keep the record, or some smaller firms might just choose to do it in Excel or any of the other simplistic models. But by its nature, all of these apps tend to be very rigid, as in the data model is rigid. You can't plug in maybe a social media information into it. You can't plug in your conversation details of customer with it. You can't plug in maybe your loan decisioning information, your CASA account information. So what happens is your customer master record is completely disjointed with multiple other product systems that you got. So by nature, you're creating lots of silos. So by creating a composable CDP, it kind of becomes a brain that you helps understand the customer, while the other bits kind of feed into that, both internal and external. So you know the customer in a very better way. So to Chris's point earlier, segmentation, which used to be very linear before. So you say, oh, you know what, I'm going to target a customer between age group 20 to 30 in a certain way, or I'll say an income group of 40K to 60K a certain way. It's never that linear. Every customer is different, and LLMs can make that decisioning to that segment of one level instead of doing it in a very binary old way. So yeah, I'll take a pause there. Probably I'm going ahead of myself, but I thought that'll be easy. A good point to highlight.
Yes, a lot to digest for the audience as well, Kaushik and Chris. Susie, you want to pull up the poll results from our first question about obstacles?
Oh, sure. Just 1 minute, please.
I think while Susie's pulling up, I think there's been a lot of talks about personalization, the current state, a lot of companies investing in it. And I think customer experience is definitely one big topic now. How do I really enhance and personalize to my customer, especially in the wealth management, where your customer is high net worth value? How do I actually really talk to them in a very personalized manner, right? And last but not least, we mentioned about composable way, right? I think composable is one of the ways to be really flexible, allows you to really look into things differently and personalize it the way that you want, flexibility. So I think while we move on to the next section, right, it's going to be talking a lot about challenges, right? Challenges in the BFSI industry. So just now we talk a lot about data silos, one of the biggest challenge that we are looking at, but also looking at omni-channel, right? How do I activate across different omni-channels, right? So maybe to the panelists, right? What are the most common challenges that you guys are seeing when you're implementing or even scaling the customer 360?
Can I go first?
Of course, Chris.
All right. Okay. So I repeatedly see a few major challenges that hinder customer 360 success. So, as Tang you said, silos data or all the data system, that is also issues. And for the BFSIs, the regulation and the governance is always important matter. But I want to share some other point which is easily neglected. So for three things. First thing is that lack of a cross-functional collaborations is a common challenges. So too often customer 360 initiatives are owned solely by the marketing team or data transformation teams or IT teams like that. So, but without active support from the other divisions, this effort rarely succeed. So, I believe very strong sponsorship is needed to collect all those cross-divisional support. So to be effective, customer 360 must be a joint effort, bringing together, IT, business divisions, marketings, even legal teams. So true success, comes from the breaking down the silos and aligning around the shared goals and data ownerships and executions. Second point is that overemphasis on the technologies without too little focus on activation and the business impact. So some clients successfully build technical foundation for the customer service team, but stop short of integrating it into actual customer engagement. Without clear activation strategies, the data remains underutilized and the platform delivers little business values. So technology is just enablers. The true return comes from the embedding insight into the campaigns, service channels, and frontline decisions. So I believe the reality is that customer 360 isn't just data initiatives. It is a kind of business transformation, and we need to take this as a company-wide initiatives. Yeah, so that is common challenges I observed.
Very nice, Chris. Kaushik and Prabhat, anything to add?
Yeah,
about?
so I'll just see one of the biggest objective I see, right, in modern world for customer 360 is how can you build relationships at scale, right? I mean, traditional relationships have been taught at a very personal level, and you do a one-to-one touch point. But with technology and all the evolution around AI, this is going to help you build relationships with your clients at scale and one-to-one. So I think keeping that as a goal, one has to really, when Chris spoke about challenges in data silos or activation and so on, it's very important that what are the clear use cases that one needs to address, right, from the customer point of view, and also from the organization point of view, whether it is cross-sell, uplift, personalization from the point of view that how is like I talk about how is my customer experiencing my services or products, right? One has to have even that level of sensitivity so that we are able to improve things quickly. You need not fix everything on day one, but it is an iterative approach. Bring one use cases after use cases and activate it, as a process. And eventually you will see that you have built that relationship at scale. So I think that would be one important thing. And the fourth one would be the privacy concerns that customers would have, because when you are collecting my data, what are the things that you are using? I don't know. So how are you taking my consent on what kind of data are you using for what purposes? So this is extremely challenging for the organizations to implement in the view of Customer 360, because such frameworks is very difficult to integrate in Customer 360. So I think these are two more challenges that I see.
I think this is really good points both Chris and Prabhat has raised. I also see our poll result come back and a few questions popping up. I just want to weigh in on that. Having implemented Customer 360 in my previous role, So I can tell you, I can completely resonate with some of the challenges we have been highlighted. Data silos, I touched upon it before. Unsure of how to begin. That's also a common problem. Especially in large organization, it can be very overwhelming to say, how do I build that customer 360? What does it mean? How do I tackle it? How do I show value? Because you have to build a business case. The reality is, for any business leader in a bank or any of the FSI industry, when they go to their senior leadership to project that, hey, this is a great business case, you need to proceed with it. It cannot be done for a particular team. It needs to be a top-down motion. And the reason it is because it touches all parts of the business. Customer 360 by its nature means you want to know the customer across your whole organization. And teams tends to be siloed. So the top brass, the CXOs, needs to have a good sponsorship saying that I want to drive my business better. And the way to know doing that is knowing my customer. Now, technology is a means to an end. And when we say that how we build about it, I think the first step is step one, create that unified party ID. At least that's the approach I followed. And I've seen a few other customers of the top banks do that. Create that unified customer ID. And it might seem easy, but trust me, when you have got hierarchical customer like organizations, which has got multi-layered IDs, joining that with the retail customer, which is a one-to-one, is quite different, and you need to have a different approach for both, and technology can be really helpful for that. And once you have created that unified party ID across organization, across retail, then the next step is joining it to your individual product and operation system. So that when you are making, or somebody RM is trying to make a decision for loaning a new mortgage or a car loan or a personal loan or opening an account, they can immediately see, does this customer have presence somewhere else? Or expanded broader, does this customer has presence in some other banks? And those data are available. You just need to know how to do that. And if that decision is available on a timely basis in a very presentable format, the decision making, I think the business already knows how to do that. It is positioning it better to them. And then the steps follow. And the first two steps are very critical. Get the framework right, and then the rest will come on the back of it, including AI. AI is not going to solve the problem. Get the foundation right, then AI will come in.
Kaushik, I just want to add a couple of more points. See, when you look at the poll results, right, how to begin is one of the biggest challenge. And in that how to begin, the challenge is the tech piece, because it seems so overwhelming. So it's important that, because a lot of times your core, the skill is not technology, which is evolving continuously. Your core skill is banking, right, or your financial product. So it's important to not get overwhelmed, and sometimes get partnered with companies who are basically extremely tech savvy, and make sure that they basically bring things which are right now not core to your business, but eventually becomes core to your business, because this is a transition or the evolution that will take place, and one should not get overwhelmed with technology and so many different options in the world. Have a consultant or an advisor to start with, if you are not having that perspective inside the organization. If you have it, great, then you know how to start from there.
Yeah, I think while we're talking about this topic, there was a very interesting question talking about what cross-departmental structures have you seen drive the fastest alignment? Since we're talking about the alignment piece, right? Want to take a stab at it?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
One is the cross-departmental structures that you have seen drive the fastest alignment on customer 360 goals. Okay, I think he's asking about
top-down. I think it's a top-down strategy, which I think is important. See, cross-department, every department has usually in large organization will have its own success metrics. So marketing might have a metrics that, okay, as long as I can bring in X number of leads, that's my success metrics. Retail will have a business metric saying that I need to give out X amount of loan. Commercial will have something else. They might have a metrics around churn. They might have metrics around satisfaction rate. Because all of these are different, that's why it's important to have at the top level, right? All adds up to have that ambition and a mission that I want to have a unified view. I want to drive value across the board, because it is true that composable CTV by its nature is an org-wide measure. It's not one organization's measure. Yes, you can. Can a commercial team just add value by improving the communication they can have with the customer? Yes, of course. Composable CTV applies that also. Can they join up external data with their internal customer information and make the product sell better? Yes, they can. So individual departmental value can also be tweaked out using composable CTV, but the value get increasingly more and more when more departments kind of join in. So I think the question is, identify the business value, and be it at department level or be it at organization level, there are value to be unlocked, tangible value, and tech kind of enables that.
Okay, thank you. Very, very, very interesting. While we pull up the poll question, right, I just wanted to take a step back to summarize what we've been discussing. I think the problems that we're seeing right now is really, first thing, of course, unifying the customer 360. How do we go about that? How do we get started? But I think last but not least, it's also about the organization, right? How do I actually build a team around this kind of strategy from top-down view, where alignment across division is going to be important. And last but not least, is going to be what are the use cases to go about in terms of driving business value whenever you're going into either a composable approach or even a full-scale approach, right? So while the poll is coming up, you can take you can answer those questions. It's going to talk about where do you see Customer 360 transform in the next 12 months, right? So Susie, if you can bring up the poll, and then we can get the audience to answer. And just to remind everyone, there'll be great vouchers at the end for lucky winners if you stay to the end, and also consistently answering the poll. Okay, so while the audience are answering the poll, right, maybe a question to Chris, right? Since you've been working a lot with customer 360s, right? What would be the probably top 3 mistakes besides the fragmented data that you've seen organization make?
Okay. It is in my real experiences that customer 360 relies on the data from almost every part of the organization. So when there is changes in the data structures or logics behind the within any business system, that change needs to be reflected in the customer 360 platform as well. But if those changes are not shared in advance, or if a team doesn't allow to have time for preparations, then the customer 360 view will quickly become outdated and unreliable. For BFSI, industries, unreliable and outdated data is very risky to use because there is a regulations, right? So, data governance and the lineage management is also a very crucial part of the managing the customer 360 because it is, I believe it is a living things, alive.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I think while we pull up the poll results, right, and we're gonna look at in terms of what has the audience been sharing in terms of their thoughts around the future of Customer 360. Okay. Yeah, I think number one that we see is about, again, going back to personalization, right? One of the common challenges that our audience are facing is about how do I look at personalized marketing? Second is about how do I do real-time? I mean, real-time product recommendation. Just now, Prabhat mentioned about speaking to me at the moment and not after, and it to be quick and all that. I think very, very interesting. And Prabhat, you wanted to share something, is it?
Yeah. So I want to, one of the biggest mistake I think one can make as an organization, which Kaushik was also mentioning from the top-down point of view, is treating Customer 360 as a project. It is not a project, in my opinion. It is a cultural shift in the organization where you are basically saying that I am now looking at all aspects of my customers in a holistic way, which I mentioned those 4 points. So it is not just one-time project. So it's extremely crucial that this becomes the way you interact with your customers. And with that philosophy, you will see that it will drive changes across the organization and not just the tech piece. People who are on the front line, right? If they don't adopt the entire customer 360 or the technology, and then basically make their interactions much better with the clients, then it can also fail. You bring the best technology, but then you have not made your warriors ready to adopt the shift that you are doing. I think these are some of the other mistakes I see, which are on the cultural and the change management side, which is extremely crucial, apart from all the tech, data, and other challenges which Chris mentioned.
Thank you, Prabha, for sharing. That's a reminder for a lot of us, not just about the data, the tech, but the people also actually needs to go through the change, right? I think we'll move on to the next segment, talking about change, and I think we're going to focus a lot about future state. So we touched a little bit about future state of the BFSI, right? We mentioned a lot about speed being the key factor, real-time recommendation, but we're also seeing a lot of organizations right now focusing on their investment in terms of data architecture, but also looking at real-time personalization and building sort of AI capabilities around that to really scale, right? Maybe my first question to Chris, what would be your non-negotiable when you are talking about customer 360 scaling?
Yeah, thank you, Tang. So yeah, personalizations and AI agent, yeah, everything important. But here is what I experiences has told me in three perspective. I can have this lesson is that the data, user, and business values. So I think it is repeatedly speaking in these sessions because it is important. So first thing is that collect contextual data, not just the transactional data, but the behaviors and the intent signals and preferences data. Structured data is no longer enough, as Kaushik mentioned earlier. So truly to understand your customers, you need to capture behavior clues or digital interactions, life stage indicators, and the preferences. This contextual is what powers predictive insight and the hyper-personalizations. And the second thing is that I already mentioned is that the democratize the data access. So frontline team can use insight, not just the data scientist. AI agent and the intuitive interfaces should put insight into the hands of marketers, product managers, relationship managers, and even compliance officers. So more people who can explore and apply the data, the more opportunities to create the business values across the organizations. And third thing is that business values comes from the connecting data to the actions. So activated in the real conversations, decisions, and the experiences. So the insight need to be embedded into the customer journeys, whether it could be next best actions in the real time, as Prabha mentions, or proactive fraud alert, or tailored onboarding sequence. So data must drive timely and relevant engagement. So these three pillars, contextual intelligence, wide accessibility, and activate at the edge are the what separate static dashboard from a truly transformational customer 360 capability. Yep.
I agree, Chris. I think the days of static dashboard will slowly becoming less and less. It's a curve going downwards. I think days of interactive insight is coming up, where you have data, you have rich metrics of data, both structured and unstructured, and RMs and execs should be able to talk to the data and get their targeted questions answered instead of having to troll through standardized BI tool, and every time they need a new questions, they have to send a request back to the technology team who have to again change before they can get the answer. So I think real-time insights, both internally, forget about the customer 360, internally also is going more and more mainstream.
Right.
Have you seen a real use case being implemented for AI in your past experiences when it comes to all this BFSI industry, especially the
Yeah,
highly, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, many customers. I mean, some of the largest one like Morgan Stanley has done a really great job of doing that. Fidelity has done it, and I know closer to home, a few customers in Australia has done it, like Compare Club, there's an insurance NIB.
Mm.
There are many. These are the ones jump in mind because I've seen metrics. I've seen metrics of before and after. NIB, for example, has created a paper also where they had X amount of time that support staff would spend on talking to customer, because first they will have to find out what are the previous notes or conversations they had with the customer, and then quickly scan through what has happened, and then based on that they would be able to respond back. From there, they have automated a large chunk of the questions that customers ask when they call. And not only that, so the time they spend with customers is reduced. And not only that, when they are now talking, they're able to get summarized view of the previous history of interaction with the customer. They are getting some preference related recommendation, and they're also getting some risks.
Mm.
Maybe some customer do not want to be talked about certain topic or certain product, so they know the red lines to avoid. So there are tangible proof that data-driven augmentation really works. Yes, it needs to be implemented in a certain way.
And
Mm.
I mean, this is from my personal experience as a user on the other side. In the past, what I used to see is that, when I'm interacting with a bank, there are multiple departments that I have to interact with. Let's say there is a loan department, there is a banking, there is wealth. Let's say if there is some other department that I'm interacting with, let's say from the car side. Now, when you are giving a personalized experience, you expect that whoever comes and talks to you have all this information about. And typically, one of this person who comes to you comes from one of these departments, right? Or let's say it's not very uh, expert yet generalist. You understand? So that's the combination. And this is something which can be enabled when you're breaking these data silos and basically making these frontline warriors ready, because then I have experience which is extremely personalized through one person, and one window. I then don't care about the rest of the world, right? Which is there inside the institution. I think that experience personally makes me stick with that bank forever, because then I have churned out from multiple other banking partners because they fail to provide me this kind of a single window experience.
Thank you, Prabha. I think you also need to think a lot about the workforce transformation, right? Just like you mentioned about cultural shift. How can you share more a little bit, like how would you go about managing the workforce transformation when it comes to handling customer 360?
Yeah, so like I said, right? I mean, first is the purpose is extremely important. It is not about that the team doesn't know certain things and you're going through an evolution and people have to just learn. When it is driven by a purpose, that what transformation are we bringing as a business, and that purpose basically brings a lot of motivation within the people inside the organization to basically learn new things and evolve very quickly, right? So I think that's one thing which basically is very clear, that when you're going after the customer 360, it's very clear that we are not running this as a project, but we are doing it as a complete transformation of the image of our institution or organization in a certain way to in front of our clients. I think that drives, and then mapping that purpose with clear objectives and outcomes, that it is not about certain process, but it is the value creation, that how are we basically arriving at by implementing certain technology into it. I think these are the two important aspects in terms of motivation and making people go through the pain of change management. That's one. That's two piece. Third is helping them go through the change, right? How do you make them particularly the frontline workers, let's say, or the frontline ops, that how do you basically use technology and interact with the client? How do you make their life easy? Like Kaushik was mentioning, that all the past interaction, etc., when you get summarized, the person who is handling in the front line knows that this is how I should go and interact. sometimes, let's say I'm interacting with a client and I am not understanding why I'm not able to create that delight factor for the person. But with your past interaction, one would know that, yes, these are the ways that you should interact with the client, because the client has these concerns, and this is the uh, interaction which he would love to have when you want to basically move the needle on them. I think uh, one is the motivation, the technology enablement in terms of training, and the third, how to use it in terms of not just enabling, but also using and then communicating to the client. I think these are the few initiatives that I would drive in bringing the transformation for the workforce.
I just want to add something,
Yeah.
add to what Prabhat just mentioned. I think collaboration is very important. I think the world has become very complex. The old ways of, I'll do everything myself in the organization doesn't work. Again, just reflecting back my previous organization where I used to lead the not just the data vertical, but also the ESG as a one of the core components. Now that's probably the first time something very, very unknown was thrown towards the FSI, and we had to scale up very fast. And we knew that the startups and the niche players who are doing a very, very cutting edge research, they would know about it more than a finance firm would know. And it's okay to collaborate with them. There's a win-win for everyone. And I think people should continuously look for that win-win. And that's where SI partners such as ADA comes in with their core product capabilities, Snowflake with our data capabilities, and FS firms with their financial services capabilities. And I think collaboration would be as a mind shift change, which kind of really drives success, I would say.
So interesting point, Kaushik touched upon like ADA Snowflake partnership with the financial mindset as well, right? I mean, what are the USP when you're looking at partnership between ADA that can bring value to clients?
For me,
Yeah.
so I would say that I think Snowflake and ADA is very complementary. Yeah. It's like this. You have got the application layer, which helps a customer get started faster. You've got the workflow, which tells them that, okay, follow these steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have your composable CDP and a customer workflow that they can actually execute on a day-to-day basis for your retail customers, for your marketing team, etc., etc. Underlying that, Snowflake kind of powers the whole data ecosystem, no matter what data it is. Like I spoke before about, maybe call center data. It could be the external social media data. It could be internal customer metrics or loan data. All of it, Snowflake can just pull it together very easily because of our native capability. And that means customer has a very quick time to value, which I think should always be a big metrics everyone should look at. So when you look to deliver a project, break it into chunks and deliver value as soon as possible. And I think that's where ADA plus Snowflake makes a big difference when delivering customer 360 for any organization.
Adding to Kaushik's, Snowflake provide ideal foundations for the composable CDP, as we already mentioned. And ADA brings the expertise and the proven frameworks, with a track record of delivering successful CDP and the customer 360 project across the BFSI sectors, we know that what drive the result in the BFSIs. So ADA is the only partner I can say that with the implementation and the consulting capabilities to achieve the business values. So for example, ADA has a framework to build the use cases aligned to the BFSI's business objectives. And we also have a customer 360 maturity models associated with the use cases. So BFSI customers can make values in very quick timelines.
Yeah, I mean, just I'll add a few points to the Chris's remark and Kaushik's remark. So Kaushik mentioned about quick turnaround time is extremely critical, and having a platform and having expertise, and this expertise basically not in just in terms of having solved problems in the past, but we are bringing this expertise on the Snowflake platform. For example, building data models for composable CDP. We have about 150 data points, which basically builds the entire data model. So it's already ready. You just have to map your data into this data model, and then rest of the things will get powered very quickly. So I think these are the frameworks that Chris was talking about, that we are bringing onto the platform together, where the power of the platform and the frameworks that we basically have learned over the past, and with our experiences in BFSI, is enabling the quick turnaround time and with maximum impact. I think that's very key.
Yeah, I think very interesting point. I think the other way to think about it, right? The audience has been asking also is also about success matrix. So along the way, we will be actually implementing a lot of customer 360 view, right? How do I know that I'm actually on track, and what are the metrics I can use to make sure that I'm on the right path, or I'm swinging and I need to get back to the right path? Anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, see, there are different success metrics that one can think of, right? I mean, one is, like I was mentioning very clearly, that having clearly identifiable impacts in terms of your use cases, right? That is one that one has to put. For example, I'm talking about churn, I'm talking about customer lifetime value, I'm talking about a fraud, right? I mean, these are important problems which are always there, but how are you solving it more effectively and very quickly by bringing the amalgamation of technology and expertise together? So, and then you put those clear impact with, and compare it with the return on, as a return on investment. So I think that is how you would basically see that I'm able to move the needle on the impact front, because that would basically fuel your investment into customer 360 more and more.
Adding to
Yes, I
Prabha's
think.
comment, yeah, please go ahead, Kaushik.
No, you start first, Chris. I'll go later. No worries.
All right. Of course, business value is the most important, but what I also think important is that how many users are actively use the customer 360. So in many cases, only data scientists or marketers are only using these systems. In that case, there is a less chance to make a values. So throughout the change management and the trainings, we need to encourage more users to use customer 360 into their day-to-day work. So some of a successful client is managing the number of active users, how frequently they are accessing the systems, and how many activation they make. So that is also a part of important success metrics for the customer 360. Kaushik?
Yeah. So I think we used to get, again, I keep reflecting back my previous roles. We used to get brutally challenged on value. So we had to publish with every business case, NAV, so net asset value. So we would have to say, what is the cost that I'm going to spend on a project, and what is the value I'm going to deliver? And my rule of thumb always has been, it has to be either revenue, you increase revenue for the firm. It's going to be cost, you reduce cost, or it's time, you reduce time. And no matter what the business process is, always falls in one of these three verticals. And if you can articulate your business challenge to a technology or a data solution or an AI solution, doesn't matter what, into these three verticals, top leadership is always more likely to support that. And the realization of the value is always better when you break it down in chunks, maybe 3 monthly, 6 monthly, show that tangible. Okay, this is what I'm going to hit. And you get that support in the beginning. So if you meet that or even beat that, that's always good. So I think that's the kind of mindset we need to progress with, not just customer 360, to be honest. It is any kind of transformation project.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris, Prabhat, and Kaushik. I think we're coming towards the end, and we talk a lot about the future state. And one of the things I wanted to bring everyone back is actually the speed to ROI, which Kaushik and Prabhat mentioned a lot earlier, right? How do I actually justify ROI, but at the speed that we need to really extract the value? I think we are coming to an end to our first webinar series talking about unlocking business value with a customer 360. And any last sentence to leave the audience, Kaushik, Prabha, and Chris?
I think we have one open questions in the Q&A. So can use audience real-time delivery to pay the media channels? Yes, of course, it is possible. So when the some condition meets as defined, then the audience can be sent out to the paid media channels in the real time. However, it need to be considered that the paid media channel need some time to process it or matching with their customers. So in the real activation, there may be some time gaps. Yeah, please, be informed that.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I think my just one liner would be, a customer 360 is valuable only if it leads to 360-degree action across all the businesses. So I think if that happens, then you will be able to move the needle on the impact.
I think what I want to leave everyone with, I think there's a more in-depth conversation in subsequent webinar. I think AI is going to be more and more ingrained in customer 360. Yeah. While data, both internal, external, is getting more and more mainstream into customer 360 journey, you will start seeing even in ASEAN and in the region where external data potentially was less, but they're people becoming more creative. I have got a telecom customer who is providing solution with an insurer by doing a joint collaboration using clean room where they both get to learn more about the customer while maintaining PII. These kind of innovations are becoming more and more mainstream and all using data. And I think we'll see this happen a lot more where regulators also get comfortable with it, which is also happening. We are engaging with regulators. So my vision for the coming days is more innovation around knowing customer, more activation of delivering value for customer, and last but not the least, AI coming at a very, very fast pace to make it better from customer perspective and for the firms.
Okay. I think thank you, panelists, for your time. Thank you, Kaushik, Chris, and also Prabha for your time. Thank you, the audience. I think we've come to the end of our first webinar, and there'll be 2 more webinars coming, which we'll be sharing with you shortly. And also congratulations to those that have won the Grab vouchers. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.